Hello, I'm David Noel. Welcome to episode 99 of SMB. Earlier episodes of SMB, Science Myth-Busting, have looked at some of the myths and mistaken ideas which have arisen in the field of science. In this episode, we'll look at why these myths have persisted, rather than being swept away routinely by application of data and logic. Science in civilization has had its ups and downs before now. Here's a graphic showing how scientific progress could be divided up into different eras. What we call Science 1.0 really began with the ancient Greeks back around 500 BC. This work continued on within the Roman Empire, often by Greek workers. The older science of astronomy came down from the Babylonians, but the Greeks and Romans made many measurements and devised theories with the application of mathematics and logic. They worked out the size of the Earth and its distance from the Sun. They mastered architecture and engineering, built roads and aqueducts. However, in the centuries around 300 or 400 AD, their empire faded and Science 1.0 ground to a halt. In the Dark Ages following, some activity was maintained in the Arab world, particularly in some branches of mathematics, and in China came the development of printing and the development of gunpowder. Science 2.0 really started with the Renaissance in Italy, spreading to England and elsewhere in Europe. 2.0 fused smoothly into Science 3.0, which was typified by the Industrial Revolution in Britain, the discovery of electricity, and identification of the chemical elements. Science 4.0 began around 1940, with huge advances in computing and communication, harnessing of nuclear energy, and development of space flights and satellites. But Science 4.0 has become constipated, held back by a number of blind alleys and myths which have become embedded in general thinking. These are exemplified by the SMB topics. This graphic shows some of the major areas of science where development is currently almost at a standstill because of ingrained wrong ideas. You should appreciate that these impasses are not due to bad data. Scientific measurements and experiments continue to yield greater and greater amounts of mostly excellent data. It is the interpretation of this data and acceptance of its logical evaluation which has fallen down a hole. This is not a scientific problem, it is a problem of human behaviour. Why is it that faulty conclusions put forward in the past have not been replaced in the general understanding by clearly logically superior ideas? The main reasons why wrong ideas continue in circulation are that most people don't understand these ideas, don't care about them, or don't think they'll be personally affected. A new and superior explanation may be suppressed by the peer review requirement for publication, and for anyone supporting a new idea, it could lead to loss of prestige or salary or even job. With traditional journal publishing, for an article promoting a new idea to be accepted, it must be approved by reviewers who will not give this approval if it might harm them or others in an essentially closed shop area of research. Editors will not accept an article if they think it might harm their journal's standing or financial position. Here is an imaginary account of how a fake explanation could gain acceptance in society. Notice that there's nothing in this scheme which depends on whether the ideas pursued are right or wrong. Perceptive viewers may see some parallels of this imaginary idea in the real world. In an effort to bypass some of the limitations of conventional publishing, researchers are increasingly putting innovative material directly up onto the web, as with the open access site Archive, spelled ARXIV. This site now holds over 2 million articles called preprints. Another approach, used here by SMB, is to put stuff up on YouTube. It's more work than writing an article, as visual and spoken presentation factors have to be taken into account, but the end result is much more accessible to the viewer. The viewer then has the opportunity to make up their own mind on the facts presented. Individual SMB episodes give the facts and interpretation for various topics, including some which are currently blocked from improvement by mistaken ideas. Finally, here is a chart of some of the opportunities for advancing science beyond 4.0 and hopefully kickstarting Science 5.0. Each box gives a reference to an article on the aoi.com.au website, which of course is accessible by typing the article's address into a browser such as Google. So it's goodbye from me, David Noel, and good luck if you follow up some of the articles on the website. These articles are written to be as clear and understandable as possible. Bye then.